What's good, YouTube? It's your boy already here to showcase the Synchron deck profile. Let me go through a quick run here, show you my updated deck profile, especially with the recently new updated ban list. Have a few new additions. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start off with the main deck here. Now in the main deck, I run 3 copies of Stardust Synchron. Stardust Synchron is one of the best starters in the deck, pretty much. When this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Stardust card in your hand. Usually, with that, you're going to add your Stardust Illumination, which I will showcase later whenever I get to my spells. The next card, Junk Synchron. Another one of your cards that you use to get your combos going. His effect is whenever he's normal summon, you can target 1 level 2 lower monster in the graveyard and you can special summon it. Pretty good card. Works in conjunction with Junk Converter. And then for my other 2 tuners, I run 1 Fleur Synchron and the newly added, fresh out the ban list, Jet Synchron. Fleur Synchron's just there just because I need a level tuner to summon up a speeder. Then Jet Synchron is one of the best tuners printed in the game. Freshly off the ban list, when this card is used for synchro summon, you can add a junk card from your deck to your hand. Also, while this card is in your graveyard, you can discard 1 card and special summon it from your graveyard. So it's a pretty good extender to help you synchrocline and make those extra plays. Alright, that's it for the tuners. On to the monsters. On to the non-tuner monsters, we have 3 Junk Converter. Pretty good card. It's a -1, but you can benefit off of it. Whenever this card, you can send this card and another tuner in your hand to the graveyard to add 1 Synchron monster. Your usual target that you're going to add with this card is Junk Synchron. That's why I said those 2 really work in conjunction with each other. And my next monster is Boost Warrior. I run 3 Boost Warrior. Boost Warrior is pretty good because whenever you control a tuner, you can special summon this card from your hand, and it's a non-once per turn. So say hypothetically you have 2 or 3 of them in your hand, you can special summon them all at once. And for the most part with this deck, you're always going to have a tuner, so it's easy to summon this card. The next card is Caliga Claw Crow. Caliga Crow is a pretty good card as well. If you control a dark monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon it once that way, which is pretty fine, and we control enough dark monsters in our deck, so it's pretty much a free special summon. Works in conjunction with Junk Synchron for that easy speeder play as well as we run 2 Synchron Carrier. Synchron Carrier is just it's basically a double summon. You normal summon this card, it gives you another normal summon to where you can normal summon a Synchron monster in your hand. That works well with Junk Synchron as well to get to those speeder plays. And then I run 2 Doppel Warrior. I just run the 2 Doppel because the graveyard occurrence that I have, it's easy to special summon in my field. 2 is a good ratio. A lot of people run 3, but with the way the deck is built and how synchro variants are, I don't think Doppel is as important as it used to be, but it's still a pretty good card and a really good token generator as well. I run Stardust Trail. Stardust Trail is the Stardust Illumination target. Pretty much when you normal summon your Stardust Synchron, you'll add the Stardust Illumination and you'll dump this card into the graveyard, and it affects reads whenever a card is tributed. You can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. So this card in conjunction with Stardust Synchron's tribute effect to special summon itself is a free level 8 card, which we'll get into. Alright, that will be it for all the monsters. On to the hand trap portion of the deck. For the hand traps, I run 3 Ash, or not 3 Ash, excuse me. I run 2 Ash, and I run 2 Ogre. I feel like in this format, the way things are, Ash is pretty much good in any format or most formats. And Ogre, with all the token generation that's going on, especially going into the new format with Sword Soul still being a thing, and the Adventurer package is still being a thing, I think Ghost Ogre is still going to stick around. Alright, and my next hand traps I run Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is just a pretty good all-around card. It negates your opponent's monster effects on field. Also, it's also what comes in handies with these hand traps. With your junk converter, if you don't have any of your Synchron tuners in hand and you have any of these, you can just pitch these tuners to activate junk converter, as well as Ogre and Veiler being a good search target for your chaotic ruler when we get into the extra deck. That will be it for all the hand traps. Now on to the spells. For the spells, we play triple tuning. I see people stray away and cut tuning because of Synchro Overtake. Synchro Overtake is an amazing card, and I can understand, but me honestly, personally, I like all the search power that you can have. And this card is a non-once per turn as well, so you can search as many of your Synchron tuners as you want. As well, you get a mandatory mill off it, which is for the most part beneficial. Alright, and then the next spell that I have, I'm running 3 Synchro Overtake. Synchro Overtake is pretty good. This is a card that you're mainly going to use to extend your plays or start your plays by adding a junk Synchron to hand or special summoning it by revealing the Synchro monster listed in the extra deck. And since Jet Synchron is freshly off the ban list, you can use Jet Warrior as well to get you a free special summon of a Jet Synchron or add it to hand. The next play that I play, something else that's fresh and new off the ban list from 1 to 2, I play Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is just a really good card. It helps whenever you have those bad hands and you have the desires. It just gives you that chance to make a play and dig deeper into your deck to get the cards that you need. Alright, for my next spells, I play Salesman. Salesman is pretty good, especially when you're going first. If you don't have the crossouts at the moment, I don't have any crossout designators, but I feel this is the next best thing. Salesman, especially whenever you're going first, this pretty much makes you Nibiru proof. You would still have to worry about other hand traps, but say if you do have the perfect hand set up to play through multiple hand traps, which you can, this comes in handy because it prevents you from getting beaten by Nibiru. Alright, now on to my 1-up spells. I played a 1-up Stardust Illumination. Like I said, this is used for dumping the Stardust Trail or the Stardust Synchron, depending on which situation you're in. The 1 reinforcement of the army. Usually I go get this to I mainly use it for extending plays or if I need a junk Synchron or a junk converter. Alright, and then I have the Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is just an easy way to get monsters into the graveyard to get your plays started. And then the Monster Reborn. One of the best extenders this game has ever had. And the last 1-up spell that I have is called By the Grave. Great for stopping your opponent's hand traps whenever they're trying to prevent you from making any plays. Alright, that's it for my spells. Now on to the only singular trap that I have. I have the one infinite impermanence in my hand, and it's fine having it at one because, like I said, with this deck, you have immense draw power with how much you synchro summon with it. So you're more than likely going to see it despite it being at one. All right, that's it for the main deck. Now let's go into the extra deck. Starting off with the extra deck, we're going to start off with Satellite Warrior. The Satellite Warrior is a pretty good card. You can splash into any synchro deck. Mainly I use it in conjunction with my Excel Synchron. Basically, once I get my board set up with negates or any form of disruption, this is usually the main form of disruption. I try to go for my opponent first, because usually once I summon it during my opponent's turn, it gives you the ability to pop up to 5 or 6 cards, so you can interrupt your opponents while they're in the middle of making their plays. So pretty good card in Satellite Warrior. And then you have the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, a pretty good card right there, targeting Omni Negate. This card is really not that difficult to make in this deck, especially with Jet being back. It's easy to make whenever you go for the Chaotic Ruler play. And then Crystal Wing, this is one of the main targets you want to make. I mean, if you can make it within 5 summons, you're pretty much in a bureau proof with this card as well. But for, like I said, for the most part, that's what Salesman is for. But if you don't have that line, if you're able to make Crystal Wing beforehand, that's what you're mostly going to go for. And then one of the best cards in the deck, Chaotic Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. This is a really, really good card. It allows you to excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, and if there's a dark or a light monster, you can either add it to hand or send it to the graveyard with the rest of your cards, which it makes for really good graveyard setup. And then I play the one Cypher Lord Omega. This is just a pretty good card, you know what I mean? It hand loops your opponent for one, and also whenever it's in the graveyard, you could send it in one card from your deck, one card from your graveyard to your deck, and return it to the extra deck. As well as I run the one of Aphadon Dragster, pretty good spell, Trap Negate. I have the Stardust Charge Warrior. This, I usually use that for synchro climbing, a good extender piece for climbing into those bigger synchro monsters. And then pretty much the MVP, Junk Speeder. This is your goal of this deck, is to try to get Junk Speeder out. For the most part, if you're able to successfully summon Junk Speeder, you're more than likely winning the game, because once he's summoned out and you summon out all those tuners, you're able to set up a pretty big board that most likely your opponent isn't able to break. And then I have Excel Synchron. Like I said, this card is just mainly used for the Satellite Warrior play on your opponent's turn. It pretty much turns into a Regeki for their whole board. All right. And then I have the Jet Warrior and the Junk Warrior. Those are mainly used for the Synchro Overtake. That way I can add the Jet Synchron and the Junk Synchron. But Jet does have an effect whenever he Synchro Summon. You can target one card on your opponent's field and return it to their hand, which is a pretty good effect, and also a graveyard recurring effect where you can banish a card or discard a card and special summon it from the graveyard but banish it when it leaves. But like I said, these two are mainly just used for the Synchro Overtake. And then I have the TG Hyper Librarian. That card is mainly just used to draw as you synchro summon and, you know, dig deeper into your deck for those hand traps and such. Then I have Herald of the Arclight. Herald of the Arclight is a pretty good card. It's a level 4 Omni Negate with 1,000 defense. So pretty much you can also summon this card as well, before you go into your speeder line to Nibiru proof yourself. But you kind of got to be careful and make sure you have your graveyard set up, because its other effect whenever monsters are sunk from, you know, your hand or deck to the graveyard, they're banished instead. So it's better to go ahead and have your graveyard set up before you use this card. And my last two cards are Martial Metal Marcher, used for extending. Whenever you synchro summon, you can special summon a tuner from your graveyard. And Celestial Double Star Shaman, pretty good level 2 synchro monster. Whenever it's synchro summon, you could special summon as many level 2 monsters from your hand or graveyard. That's it for the extra deck. On to the side deck. For the side deck, I play 2 Nibiru. This is pretty much whenever I'm going second, I would side into 2 Nibiru. Nibiru, just a big blowout card, you know what I mean? Especially whenever you use it against your opponent mid-combo. If they don't have a negate on the board, you're pretty much clearing their board, and for the most part, they're passing their turn. And then I would play the 3 Ghost Bell Haunted Mansion. Ghost Bell is pretty good in this format as well. I mean, there are a lot of graveyard effects, and this card helps prevent that as well. So you can side in 3 of those. And like I said, the next card that I play, due to the type of format that we're in, I'll play 3 Token Collector. And the side, you still have Sword Soul running around, as well as the Adventure Package. So whenever you do go up against those matchups, you just side into this card, and it's pretty much for the most part, an instant win against those decks. And the next card I play in my side is Cyframe Gear Gamma. Probably other than Ash, this is probably the best hand trap. Pretty much, especially whenever you're going second. I mean, your opponent activates that monster effect, and then you could just negate it with this card. I mean, it comes with the price of playing the vanilla driver, which is something that you don't hope to draw, but it's pretty much a pretty big payoff whenever you use it and negate your opponent's monster effect, especially during your turn. Say like if they tried to ash you during your turn and you activate Gamma in hand and special summon the driver, since it's during your turn, that gives you a free Omega as well. And the last card I play in my side, 3 Anti-Spell. This is for those pretty heavy spell matchups. I mean, it's not Imperial Order, but for the most part, if you get a pretty good setup on your opponent and you have the anti-spell set and activated, it might as well be Imperial Order, because by the time it's your turn again, you pretty much won the game whenever you activate this against your opponent, especially if it's a deck that heavily relies on their spells. Alright, well, that's the deck profile that I have for you. Thank you guys for watching. Got a test hand video coming up. See you guys.